Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. For those of you who are following me and doing the altered book with the Julie Nutting paper dolls, are you ready? Because we are going to do a super fun layout in this book. So we've got our flip falls so far, our windows, our doors, our pockets, a fairy, this one with the hats. So the next one in the book is going to be really fun. It's going to be a fashion show. So I have the back side of this one, and that's a great starting point, but I'm going to remove some pages here to make some space. So I'm going to remove about 4 pages of the book here. Then I'm going to glue together probably about 3 pages here to make a set. And then I'm going to put 3 or 4 pages, probably 4 for it to be real stiff, on the other side. And the pages that I remove, I'm going to glue those together because they're going to be used as well. So that's the first step. And then the next step is going to be choosing a bunch of your Julie Nutting paper dolls and decorating them super fancy in all different ways to create the girls that are going to be in the fashion show. So let's get started and have some fun. So while my page sets are drying, I'm going to start working on my girls. And what I'm doing is just trying to really decorate them and make them extra special since it's a fashion show. So for this one, I used some really fun pattern paper to layer. I layered the skirt, and then I used some pens to just make some shadows. At the bottom, I used a needle and poked little holes along the edge and used some thread and used seed beads to make a beaded border around the base of her skirt. I added some sparkle glitter Uniposca pen on her boots, and then I wrapped some sheer material around and used some pop dots to make it stick in the back to make a little sheer shawl around her. I used some little tiny die cuts I had and some gems to put little flowers in her hair. So that's what I'm doing. I love the beaded border on the dress, things like that, to really make them be fashionistas. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do probably anywhere between 7 to 9 girls for this page. So I'm going to do them, and then I'll come back and show you what I've done to each one and explain it, just to give you some decorating ideas. I'm also going to do, on some of them, do the reverse stamping. So if you have a jelly plate, you ink your stamp onto the jelly plate, flip the jelly plate, and stamp from the jelly plate to your cardstock, and then you can make the same girl reversed, decorate her a totally different way, with different colored hair, to make 2 different girls from one stamp. So there's a suggestion there, but that's what you're going to need to do the fashion show. It's probably about 7 to 9 Julie Nutting girls, really decked out. You can put sequins and glitter and all kinds of fun things, or do something like this with the beads along the edge and make them really fancy schmancy. And then I'll show you what we're going to do to create the fun pages in the book. So here's my next one decorated. This one is Scarlet. And what I did with Scarlet, I stamped her onto watercolor paper. So here's the stamp. I stamped it on watercolor paper. So I watercolor painted the dress. If you can see underneath the sheer, there's watercolor and splatters and watercolors and shading. And then the middle part I did pink, and then I put a metallic pink watercolor over it. I added a piece of embroidery floss around her waist, and then a little gemstone that looks like a flower. This is sheer material with applique, so I cut little slits in her outfit here along these areas of the outfit. So under here, 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 and here. And I put pieces of that sheer material with applique underneath it, so then the pink dress shows, but yet it looks like she's got a sheer pink overlay on her skirt. And then I added some little half back pearls. So that's how her dress came out. I love it. It's sparkly and shiny. It looks so much prettier in person than on camera. And then I did the same with her bow. I watercolor painted the bow and added some shimmer to that with some Spectrum Noir shimmer ink. I did her hair in yellow cardstock, and then I used colored pencil and micron pens to add some detail to them. So that is Scarlet. So far I've got these two getting ready for the fashion show. So this one is Mindy, and what I did with Mindy was to just layer her with some really pretty fancy papers. They were actually from the Dina Wakley Collage Collectives, so the papers came from that. And then for this part, I popped these up and kind of made them rounded. I added some cool little decal stickers. She's got earrings, a little 3D bow. For her hair is all up on the top of her head. You can see the way I did her hair is different. This is where I love to be creative with them. So here's her hair. It's a bouffant hairdo up top. So what I did instead was to cut this part off, flip this part upside down, and put it down here. So it made a different hairstyle. And then I used colored pencils and micron pens to make her hair a little bit more detailed and textured. She's just real cute. And she's got cute little sparkly things on her shoes. So her shoes are very sparkly and fun. And that is the Mindy stamp. This one is Megan. So with the Megan stamp, I made my beautiful beaded girl with her wrap. I used some die cuts to cut out some little flowers, put gems in the middle of them. I added some interest to her bangs, and then I beaded her dress. And so that is Megan. This stamp is Tasha. What I did with Tasha was to use some paper that I had that had holograms on it. I stamped right on that hologram paper. And then I used colored pencils and some really bright fluorescent paint to add the shadows to her dress. I added a headband in glitter, and I put glitter for the straps to the dress. So that makes her really look like she's got a glitzy ballroom dress, which is perfect for the fashion show. So that's Tasha. And this one is Scarlet. And I showed you what I did with her with layering the pieces of material over watercolor painted dress. And then I added embroidery floss and a little gem flower on her belt. Made her little bow dimensional and added some detail to her hair. Her dress just looks really pretty. And that is Scarlet. Next one I decided to use is Marisol. This is Marisol. I like the simplicity of it and how thin she is because I want to get as many girls as possible into this layout. And some of the girls with the big wider dresses, either I have to put one behind her or in front of her, and I'm going to lose some detail. So I'm trying to choose some of my thinner images to be able to add more girls to the fashion show. It'll make sense later when I show it on the page. But anyway, this one is Marisol, and I want to add something to the bottom of her dress, and I thought, well, I could shred material and put it behind. I could fold tissue paper and put it behind that little dress where it ends, and then put some, gems or something across that part and have the dress come down to her ankles. And what could I do? I kind of got a crazy idea. I'm taking one of my grandmother's, she used to crochet doilies, and I have a 1.6 millimeter Susan Bates hook that used to be my grandmother's. I had this ball of very fine string that you use to crochet doilies, and I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to make a crochet piece to go along the bottom of this dress. Isn't that going to be pretty? So I just crocheted a chain, and now I'm just crocheting. I did half double crochets, and now I'm making some little loops to make some scallops, and I'm doing an increase as I go along to make it wider and wider. And then when I put her onto some material, onto cardstock, I can glue this across the front, and her bottom of her dress is going to be a crocheted bottom of her dress. It'll be perfect for a fashion show. And because this is cotton, I can take watercolor paints or sprays, like maybe the Delusion ink sprays, and wet it and spray it, and make the bottom really fun and funky. So here's how it turned out. I love it. This little crocheted skirt is just so cute. It turned out great. I love it. It's going to be so pretty. I used watercolor to create the top half of the dress. I stamped the dress using Archival ink onto watercolor paper, and then I used one of these to squeeze it and kind of make the watercolors go everywhere. That made this really fun pattern for the dress. Now I'm going to add the skirt to the bottom, and I'm going to use some watercolors to color it and have it be oranges and yellows to match the dress. So the next, what I did was to take some seed beads and a needle and thread. I put beads for the top part of her dress for the straps, and beads along the skirt, and I glued a few onto her shoes. So I just used a tidy tray and some very small size 11 seed beads, a bead needle, some orange thread, and I just strung the beads and put them across the bottom. Okay, so here's my glued together sets. I took some pages out in here because I wanted kind of a little bit of a space. And then I made a set right here and a set right here, so 2. And then the pages that I removed, I glued those together with Mod Podge and let that dry to make a stiff set there. So now what I want to do is to do a background in paints and things. You can do your background any way you'd like. I may or may not show that on camera, but I'm going to just do some sponging, stenciling, splattering, making a background. I don't want it too wild and crazy because I don't want it to take away from the dolls that are going to be in the fashion show. So it's going to be a little bit toned down, and I'll show you it once it's done. But I'm going to need to do this page on the left, which is the back side to the previous project. I don't need to do this page, so this doesn't need to be covered at all. Only this page and only about 3/4 of it, and I'll show you why when I get further in. So both of these need to be decorated, and then this needs to be decorated as well so that it all matches. And again, you can do it any way you want, any style you want. So when I get the paints on and get it ready to go, then I'll come back and show you, and then I'll show you my idea for adding the girls for the fashion show. Okay, so I'm playing around with laying out my girls to see how they're going to look and see how many more I need to create this layout that I'm working on. And I know I needed 2 that are very flat. So flat by meaning I don't have anything thick like beads or pop-up things or ribbons or anything. They need to be very, very, very flat. And they're going to go over here. And they're going to be on a separate thing, which I will show you. So then this one is going to be here. I'm going to lay these guys out like this. This one and this one. So I've got those 4 that cover that. This is going to be my next page. I've got this girl that's going to be on this edge. So really what I need is either 2 skinny ones or 1, and I think I'm going to just do 1 right here, because then that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 girls in the fashion show. So also by laying this out, it showed me that, as you can see, there's not a lot of room in that background, and if I do something wild and crazy like I've done on previous pages, I really love to have these beautiful wild and crazy backgrounds that are very fancy schmancy. If you do that, I think that the girls are not going to show up and their outfits are not going to show up. So what I've changed my mind is I'm going to cover this probably in a layer of white gesso, and I've decided to go with a yellow paint. Yellow would be perfect to go with these colors and make these girls really stand out, and so I'm going to just paint it a solid yellow. I may do an ombre effect. In fact, I'll link a video in the description box below where I show how to do ombre. And so it might be ombre where it's light to darker and maybe even darker yellow at the bottom. So it's going to be tones like 3 or 4 tones of yellow. So it goes light to dark. So it's not just flat yellow, but it'll have some interest to it. But I think that's what I'm going to do is ombre yellow my pages. No stenciling, no design, no shmush, because I want these girls really to pop off and show up. And over yellow, they're going to show up really, really well. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I have another little surprise that we're going to incorporate. That's going to be a title for this page that's going to pop up off the page. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do with this side here and with this extra piece. So let's get going. I'm going to do the yellow background and come back and show you the next steps for putting together this fun layout. So here are my ombre yellow pages. I've got this side over here. I didn't do this side because I didn't need to. And this is the extra page. This is going to be for another layout, a different layout. So here's what it looks like. Now what my idea is to make this page over here. Okay, in the beginning of the book, we did girls on the edge like this, where you put a girl down and you put her on the edge. So I'm going to do a girl on the edge right here on this page. So I'm going to pick which one I want, and I want to go kind of half in, about half, and I'm going to put her right here on the edge and trim her out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere these two sides down to here, and that's going to make a girl on the edge right here, and then this side right here, and that'll kind of be like a tuck pocket. So that's going to be that part of it. This part, I'm going to attach this with some material or something. I haven't decided what yet, and this is going to become a flip out like this with these girls. So, and on this edge, I'm going to do the same thing. Whatever girl ends up on the outside edge of this, I'm going to trim her out. So there's going to be a girl on the edge, a girl on the edge, this little tuck spot with some more girls tucked in. And that's going to create the big, long visual, stunning visual of all these girls having a fashion show. And I've started putting down my girls, but I just wanted to mention that when you lay them out and you see which one is going to overlap a little bit on top of the next one, this is the first one I put down, and I had to score the back of her and fold her and then use a bone folder to tuck her dress down into the seam, the gutter of the book. So she's part of her dress is getting folded. So you kind of have to think those things through. And on something like that, it works out to just crease that dress and put it right into the seam of the book. Okay, so I've glued my next girl down on this page, and now what I'm doing is doing like the girls on the edge, where I'm going to cut her out just along this side of her and remove this piece. So these two girls will be on this flap right here. Then I'm going to put adhesive on these edges just right here along the edge and glue this into place and clamp it to create that little pocket tuck right there. Okay, so I've got my girl on the edge cut out and my edges glued down, and now it's clamped to dry. And it's just turning out so cute. I love it. Next thing, before I put down my other two girls on this side, I need to add this piece. And I'm going to use material to connect it and Mod Podge. Material and Mod Podge works really well, and it's super durable, so it makes a perfect flip. Instead of laying this perfectly flat like this and adding the material on the edge and then trying to fold it over, you're going to get a stiff area. What you need to do is put the two pages together like this, clamp them together in position, and then put your material over the edge with your Mod Podge and let it dry. Reason being is that way when you open it, it's going to have the perfect give for opening it and closing it really smoothly and having it lay flat. So I just wanted to show that. And that would be the next step, because you can't add these girls until you add that edge, because you may glue the girls on top of this material. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this page and add my other two girls, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, here's how it's coming along. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm sure you guys will love it too. Here is the two girls, the one on the edge. It makes this cute little pocket tuck. What I need to do, I forgot about, is I need to remove 3 pages from back here somewhere and glue them together to make a set to put those other girls on for going in this pocket. So here they are, layered on top of each other. Look how cute that looks with all their beads and their bows and their jingles and ribbons. Oh, and then here's the flip out. So there's material on that page, and see how nicely it flips open. I need to make one more girl to go here. So I need to look through my stamps and find another girl to go here. And then I need to make my set over here with the 2 girls on it that are going to tuck back in here. And then I've got one more idea for the page. So here it is. It's coming along. I love that I did just the yellow ombre background. It makes the girls really stand out. And I like that the book text still shows through, because it is an altered book after all. So I hope you're having fun. We're moving along. For this one, I'm trying something just a little bit different. So this stamp is Willow. And I stamped her onto cardstock. It's kind of just a cream cardstock, and I used alcohol inks to color in her skin tones. I used a piece of material, sewing material, and I stamped with black ink onto sewing material and cut it out for her dress. So the dress, when I glue it into place, is going to be actual material, which I really think is kind of nifty. And then I'm just taking a scrap piece of cardstock. I stamped her head, and now I'm using my art glitter glue with the fine tip point and some embroidery floss. And I'm going to use the embroidery floss to create hair. So I'm just going to put it down in pieces along the glue, piece by piece. I'm going to fill in her hair in the direction that the stamp has her hair. So it's going to flow in the same direction, just like that. And I'm going to do all these pieces. So I'm going to cut little pieces and put them this way and this way and this way. And when it's all done, it'll look like hair. And then I'll cut that out and layer that on top. So here's how the hair turned out. I really like it. The embroidery floss hair, I cut it out and glued it into place. I used Mod Podge to put her dress, her cloth dress on. Now I'm going to do some glittered shoes. I think I'm going to add some glitter to the flowers on her dress, put a bow in her hair, jazz her up. So I just thought I'd show you, because that's another fun idea for using these dolls and decorating them. So here's how she turned out. I love her embroidery floss hair. I put some little decals in her hair that are like 3-dimensional decals you use for fingernail art. I glued on these little tiny micro rhinestones all over the centers of the flowers on her dress, so her dress sparkles. I used some sparkle Posca pen to make her little sandals glitter. So that is that one. So these are my girls. This is how it ended up. I love that. And so now for the final thing, I want to do a title for the page. So I'm going to show you how to make a pop-up title. So for the card that pulls out, I put my 3 pages together, made a nice stiff piece, and the girls that I used are Priscilla. So there's Priscilla, and I used Beautiful for the 2 girls, and they're the only decoration that they have on them are some little decals, but they're really flat So I just used regular pattern paper and did some detailing and some ink work and things like that to make them cute and fun, but not a lot of, you don't want a lot of dimension on them because they have to slide in and out of the pocket. And you also have to trim off the page at the top and the bottom so that it's a little bit smaller, and that way they slip into the pocket well. So what I really wanted to do is to have one of those fold out pop-ups where it folds into the page, and when you open the page it pops up here like for card making, but because I've already put my girls into place and you need space for that, I should have done that first, glued it down, and then maybe put the girls lower or something, but I can't work that in, so I just decided to go a different way. So I took a piece of cardboard, this is just packing cardboard, and I drew a little banner and I wrote the words, "Let's have a fashion show." And I'm going to cut that out. And then I'm going to put stick-on Velcro dots behind the little sunflowers, and then the sunflower, or the other part of the Velcro, is going to go here and here so that I can Velcro this sign into place that pops up above the page. So when I get that finished and I'm all done, I'll show you my final touches, and this will complete our project. The wonderful bonus about this project is with that fold-in page, what this creates is these two girls are going to start the next layout, because when they're folded over, you've got the start of your next layout. So it's kind of a bonus. These girls will show up in this adventure, and things can go behind that fold out. And then it also is part of the fashion show. So here's the fashion show layout, and what I did was on the left side, I used this Montana paint pen, acrylic paint pen, and the color of it is called it's called Flash Yellow, so it's really fluorescent yellow. And so I added fluorescent yellow to all the left sides to make highlights behind the girls, and then I used a General's charcoal pencil and a paintbrush that I've cut off as a scrubber, and I put a dark shadow on the right side. So left is highlight and right is dark. So see how that kind of just really makes them pop and stand off the page, because they've got a shadow behind them, and then on the opposite side is highlight. So it just makes them kind of stand out a little bit. And here's my fashion show sign, "Let's have a fashion show," and it is on little Velcro dots. So I took a Velcro dot, I cut it in half and put half of it on the little sunflowers that I made, and then half of it on the page. So I can just pop this into place when I open the page. And there's the sign that says, "Let's have a fashion show." And then this page folds down. So here's your fashion show girls that come out here, and these fashion show girls get pulled out here. And then it showcases all your girls that you've decorated. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was so fun. I enjoyed making this page, and I love the hidden little pocket with that this tag slides into the flip page, the way that this page is going to be useful for the next page. And I think this fashion show turned out really fun, and I put a lot of detail into the girls. So thanks for stopping by, and until the next project in our Julie Nutting Altered book, let's go make some art together, because art soothes the heart.